So 835 is 8 years and stand. Mr. Randall doesn't, Randolph, yeah, those are the date, that October 27th.
Okay, thanks.
This is case number 184543301, the People versus Keith Wayne Didmore, defendant 2, People versus Corey Devon Spencer, and defendant 3, Derek William Abramsky. Each defendant is charged with 1 count of assault aggravated. Today is the day set for trial. Appearances, please.
Morning, Honor. Roger Freeman on behalf of Mr. Keith Didmore, P62269.
Jeffrey Sherbo, P25324, on behalf of Mr. Spencer.
And good morning, Your Honor. For the record, Janice Stevenson appearing on behalf of Mr. Derek Abramsky with our most sincere apologies to this court for Mr. Abramsky's charge.
It's unacceptable, Mr. Abramsky. Mr. Didmore, your name,
My name is Keith Wayne Didmore Jr., Your Honor.
and Mr. Spencer,
Corey Devon Spencer.
and Mr. Abramsky.
Derek William Abramsky.
All right, are we ready to proceed?
Your Honor,
Just at the beginning, you said we're here with the 1 count. There was an added count yesterday.
Oh, yes, thank you. We
I-
need to
I know.
add that, Mr.
The lesser included something.
Add that. It's in count 2.
Yeah.
Yes, each defendant is also charged with count 2, assault or assault and battery. Thank you, counsel. Are we ready to proceed?
Yes,
Your Honor, as a housekeeping matter, I know the victim rights, the bill allows the victim to
Gentlemen, you
stay
may be seated, the defendant.
in the courtroom, but
Absolutely.
I may recall him as a witness.
And he still can stay.
Okay, I just want to put the record.
Says he still can stay, even if somebody's gonna call him, he still gets to stay.
And ready on behalf of Mr. Abramsky.
We're ready.
All right, it looks like your colleague is ready on Ms. Boykin. So I'm gonna take Ms. Boykin, and then, as we indicated yesterday, the court, while the people have not rested, the court did, agree to allow defense, it looks like on behalf of Mr. Spencer, to take a witness out of order. So, after I handle Ms. Boykin, then I will take, Mr. Spencer's witness out of order.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you're welcome. And let me just make a statement, since it's a good place to make one. Time is precious. Everybody needs to be in place. When I say be in place, that means coming back off of breaks. That means showing up in the morning. I don't want to start without somebody, just to have it maybe go up on appeal and then tell me you should have started without the person. My docket is heavy. I don't have space. I need to finish this case this week. So everybody needs to be in place. All right, Mr. Byrd, are you ready on Ms. Boykin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go with Ms. Boykin. It's case number 204471401. The people of the state of Michigan versus Shakia Boykin. Defendant is charged with 1 count of assault or assault and battery. She has case number 205721401. Defendant is charged with 1 count of malicious destruction of property. She has case number 234462301. Defendant is charged with 1 count of retail fraud. Today is the date set for pretrial conference as to each matter. Appearances, please.
For the record, Your Honor, Christina Rivera on behalf of the.
And yes, Your Honor, Brandon Byrd on behalf of Shakia Boykin. Ms. Boykin, please unmute yourself and state your full name for the record.
Shakia Boykin.
What's your name?
Shakia Boykin.
All right, today is the day set for pretrial conference, Mr. Byrd.
Yes, Your Honor, respectfully, we're going to ask for these cases to be dismissed if there's no complaining witness.
Ms. Ritter.
So, Your Honor, with respect to case number 8.
Ms. Ritter, you have to speak up.
I'm sorry,
Speak
with
loud.
respect to case number ending in 714, I'm gonna ask the court to adjourn that pretrial conference, give the complaining witness, Ms. Michelle Bentley, one more opportunity to appear. With respect to case number ending in 623 and 214, Your Honor, those are complaining witnesses on behalf of Citgo gas station. At this time, the people have no explanation as to why the corporate complaining witness does not appear. And at this time, Your Honor, the people will not be able to proceed based on the complaining witnesses' failure to appear.
You said, okay, I know, the 2023 case, that's a corporate complaint. You're saying the MDOP is a corporate complaint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, with respect to case number 204471401, the court denies defense counsel's motion for dismissal, grant the people's request for an adjournment, giving them an opportunity to locate and notify the complaining witness of the obligation that they appear before the court. I am gonna set that pretrial conference for October the 17th. The complaining witness is required to appear. Failure of the complaining witness to appear will most likely result in the matter being dismissed unless the people have a valid explanation as to why the complaining witness could not appear or should not be required to appear. That is scheduled at 8:36. With respect to case number 205721401 and 234462301. Today is the date set for pretrial conference. The complaining witness was required to appear. The complaining witness being a corporate complainant, the court is going to grant defense counsel's motions and the matters are dismissed without prejudice. We will send over the paperwork to the jail for Ms. Boykin's records. Mr. Byrd asked to bond. Is Ms. Boykin being held on this case or does she have some other? I apologize, I forget that I'm not in screen. I forgot I wasn't in screen. Mr. Byrd. All right, there I am. Zoom in on me a little bit for it. Okay. Is she only on, is she only on, is she being held on my cases or something else?
I believe just your cases, Your Honor. When I asked the deputy, that's what he told me.
So she's not on a personal bond?
She is on a personal bond. She is on a personal bond. He said
She has a tether.
right, she has a tether. She's homeless, Your Honor. If permission to address that.
You may, but I mean, I don't really need you to. I'm gonna remove the tether.
Thank you.
But okay, Ms. Boykin?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Boykin, listen. Listen, I'm gonna remove your tether, but, how are you gonna come to court on October the 17th, Ms. Boykin? How are you gonna remember to
My baby father, he's been real supportive of me. He makes sure I go to my important places I need to go. He will be there to bring me.
Well, your lawyer said you're homeless. Do you live with your the father of your child?
No, I don't live with him, but I will be going over there to stay for a while for my birthday. So, like, if I need him to take me somewhere, he comes and take me to where I have to go.
Okay. Okay.
I won't miss court, ma'am. I guarantee you that.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Boykin, so I need you to he need to bring you down to 36th District Court, or somebody has to let you Zoom on the court. And then Ms. Boykin, you don't need me to release you to a shelter. I mean, where you gonna live when you get out?
I have somewhere to stay, like I'm homeless, but I don't just be sleeping on the street.
Okay, well, I don't want you sleeping on the street. It's starting to get cold. All right. Okay, Ms. Boykin, well, I'm gonna remove the tether and set your bond at $2,000 personal bond, and no contact with the person that's accusing you of assaulting them, okay?
Okay.
Oh.
Is there
Okay, hold on, Ms. Boykin. We're gonna go back to breakout. Just hold on 1 second. I mean, the lawyer wants to talk to you again.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Byrd,
Yes,
Ms.
Your Honor.
sent you back to breakout, so she might have sent you. She's sending you a message on the case. All right, Ms. Boykin, they'll be in there in a minute. Tell the deputy to put you back in the breakout room, Ms. Boykin. Okay. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready on the trial. All right, the people not the people, we're going out of order. Yeah, I know. Mr. Sherbo,
Yes, Your
who was your witness?
Dr. Keenan Bora, B-O-R-A, he's in the courtroom, they have approach and spell his name.
All right, Dr. Bora, come forward and step to the court reporter. Mr. McMakin, I'm gonna send you to, no, I'm not. You have a different lawyer. Mr. McMakin, I'm gonna put you back in the waiting room. Have you spoken to your lawyer this morning?
Yes.
Yeah,
He's not joining.
he's not joining us.
Oh, who is that telling you what to say?
My father.
Oh, okay. Did you want to talk to the defender's office lawyers?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, and then maybe they can just tell you what's going on. I may have gotten a report, and you may be finished, but I don't know. All right, accept to join the breakout.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
you're welcome. Come this way, sir. Raise your right hand. Good morning. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And sir, tell me your name.
Keenan Bora.
Dr. Bora, there's a sequestration order, with respect to this case. We are live streaming, Dr. Bora. Did you, view any portion of the trial from yesterday?
No, ma'am.
All right, you may be seated. Ms. Bryant. And then I do apologize, spell your name for me one more time.
Sure. First name is Keenan, Keenen. Last name is Bora, B as in boy, O-R.
Thank you. All right, counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, again, will the judge just asked, would you please state your name for the record?
Sure. Keenan Bora.
Your Honor, may I approach with proposed exhibit H?
You may.
Sir, could you describe that document I just provided you?
And just 1 second, I do apologize. I know who this person is, but just for the record, I'm gonna have him state his name, and because there is a sequestration order, and so I don't want anyone to say somebody was in here that wasn't supposed to be. State your name.
Ricardo, War Victims Advocate.
Good morning.
Morning, how you doing, man?
I'm wonderful. How you doing?
Good.
All right. Okay, counsel, you may proceed.
Sir, what is your profession?
I'm, at this time, I work as a medical healthcare.
And you have provided us with what's proposed exhibit H. Is that your curriculum vitae?
It is.
If I were to ask you the questions relative to your education, your current positions, your postgraduate training, your hospital appointments, your medical licensure, board certification, award services, would your testimony be the same that is contained in that document?
Yes.
Would there be any additions, deletions, modifications, or is this pretty much your life?
This is my professional.
And sir, I called you doctor. What kind of doctor are you?
Emergency medicine doctor, also a medical toxicologist.
1 second. Can you tap your microphone?
Sure. Hello.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank
Do I just
you.
need to speak up a bit?
Just a little bit. The plexiglass
Okay.
makes it a little difficult to hear. No, yeah, the mic. So you should be good. You should be good. Okay,
I'll try to be able, I can use my big boy voice.
thank you.
So when you say you're a medical toxicologist, would you explain to us what that means?
Sure. Medical toxicologist is somebody who has gone to medical school and then done a residency in whatever they choose to do a residency in. And then it's a 2-year fellowship training after that. And it is a subspecialty that deals with medications, drugs, poisonings, overdoses, and the treatment thereof.
Alcohol?
Alcohol is definitely a drug and or poison.
And what is your current position?
Currently, I'm the Vice President for Quality and Safety for Envision Physician Services.
And you have a Michigan medical license?
I do.
And how long have you been licensed in Michigan?
Including the residency, it would be 17 years.
And you have a Michigan pharmacy license?
I do.
Is that something that's concurrent with your medical license, or is that something else you have?
You apply for them at the same time and renew them at the same time.
And you have a DEA license?
I do.
And what is that?
That's for controlled substances, so that they can track the prescriptions of that.
And you are board certified in
Correct.
certain areas. Would you explain to the court the significance of board certification?
Board certification is a process by which somebody who has had the training and education then takes some exams, including at the time that I did my emergency medicine one, an oral examination with other folks to achieve a certain standard of education and competence.
Is this a recognition within your group of peers of maintaining a level of excellence in education?
Yes,
And you're still certified, I assume.
I am.
Your Honor, I would move to have Dr. Bora acknowledged as an expert in the area of toxicology for the purpose of the examination.
Any objection from people?
No objection to the testimony specifically for toxicology.
But as an expert in toxicology. Okay. In the court, will deem this witness an expert in toxicology. Ms. Ridner, go to the breakout room for me. You may continue.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, I'd like, and I'd move for the admission of exhibit H, I believe it is, which is the CB.
Any objection?
Thank
Court
you,
will
Your Honor.
receive defense, proposed exhibit H as defendant's exhibit H.
Okay, Dr. Bora, I'd like to talk about, we've been talking about alcohol. I'd like to give you a hypothetical, well, it's really not a hypothetical, it's the testimony that has been received and admitted in evidence. That at 12:36 a.m. on April 21st, Mr. Floyd had a blood serum draw of 0.242. Taking that into consideration, first of all, can you explain to us the difference between a blood draw and like a breathalyzer test?
Sure. So the blood draw is a measure specifically of the substance being in your blood, in this case, alcohol. It is more convenient and it is easier to use something like a breathalyzer because when you breathe, the blood that's in your lungs exchanges certain concentrations of the stuff, alcohol, with your breath, and then you breathe it out. So over the past 100 or so years of post-prohibition study of alcohol, we've determined that if you have a blood alcohol level of a certain value, then when you breathe out, you're going to get a number in the machine that they can then correlate to what your blood alcohol is. All that to say is that the blood alcohol is a better test for actually determining what was in any person's system at that time. It's not a surrogate marker. There are no false positives or false negatives.
So when there's a serum blood test and somebody, whatever the numbers are, what happens to the blood? Is it dissipate or does it go to the brain, the heart? What happens?
It goes to the liver, well, it goes to all the organs, just to be sure. So any substance that's in a person's blood will go to all the places in the body that it can. In the case of alcohol, because it's so similar to water, it goes to all parts of the body. And it gets removed through the liver, but I think in this particular case, you're asking me, does it go to the brain? And yes, it does go to the brain.
And depending on the level of the alcohol, does certain levels have certain effects?
Yes, and it does vary person to person. So the things that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about in generality in terms of large populations, not the specifics for any one particular person, because I don't know how they're going to respond to alcohol.
So I'd like, and I will ask the court if he may be allowed to demonstrate on the graph that on the paper, the chalkboard.
Yes.
So Ms. Dr. Bora, if there's a pen over there and.
Just make sure that when you go over there, you project your voice. I'll need to be able to hear.
I can put it right here. Put it on this side. It would be closer. Whatever you want.
Well, no, because Ms. Ritter needs to see it. I mean, everybody needs to see it. Oh, yes, this prosecutor needs to see it, and I don't want her coming up here standing there. Hold on before you write.
All right.
What is he writing with? Am I gonna be able to see it?
No, Your Honor, and all that, I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Well, it looks like I might be able
Okay,
to.
well, he's
Go
gonna write
ahead.
that. He's gonna write that.
Okay, go ahead. No.
This is what I'd like you to assume, Doctor. I'd like you to assume that at 12:36 a.m., there's a blood draw at St. John's Hospital that shows 0.24 at 12:36. I want you to assume that this individual testified that he didn't have a drink after 7 p.m. on the 20th. So we have our time frame from 7 p.m. on April 20th to a blood draw 12:36 a.m. of 0.242. I'd like you to move backwards and tell us, is there a concept of absorptive elimination?
A little bit. I want to, if it's okay, I want to clarify that a little bit.
Please do.
So if I'd like to draw just a regular graph, right? So with this bottom part being timed. Can you see that okay, Joyce?
Yes, I can, thank you.
You bet. If for the sake of ease of math, I'm gonna say that this blood draw was at 12:30. I recognize it wasn't exactly at 12:30, but
Close
a
enough.
few minutes are not gonna matter a whole lot. And if this axis up here, this is gonna be the level, the ethanol level. And we're gonna say that that's 0.24.
242, correct.
Your body does several things with alcohol. As soon as you start to drink it, it starts getting absorbed into your body, and then your body starts processing it to get rid of it. The absorption part takes place rather quickly. So if we didn't have any other testimony about any timing of things, we would just say, we wouldn't be able to say whether or not this level was going up or whether or not it was going down, because if you're still absorbing it, then the level is going to go up. If you're done absorbing it and your body is just in the process of getting rid of it, then it's going to be going down. The absorption of alcohol takes place rather efficiently and is usually done, if I were to take all of the drinks that I was going to drink and drink them all right now, those would be absorbed within the course of about an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then your level would be at the highest and it would start going down. So if you're saying that 5 hours earlier at 7:30 p.m., more or less, for the sake of ease of math, I'm just going to work in whole hour numbers. So we've got a 5-hour time difference here. Any alcohol that was drunk before this is definitely going to be absorbed. Then your body is just in the process of eliminating it, and the level is going to go down over time. So we're going to just say that that you started drinking at some point, and it went up to some value, and then over time, your body is going to eliminate it, and it eliminates it at a fairly steady rate, constant over time. And the values for that can range from 0.015 to 0.025 per hour. So that is a standard way of thinking about it. So if we have this blood draw at 12:30 and it's 0.242, if you want to go back and figure out where was he earlier, you can do that, provided, it's in the point where we're just eliminating completely and all the absorption is done.
So when there's no more absorption, that means there's no more drinking.
Correct.
So if he says,
I don't know if Jim, these questions are.
this what?
No, he's just restating. He restated what he just said.
So there was no additional drinking after 7, so we're now in the dissipation phase, so I guess you are.
Elimination phase. Yes.
Elimination phase. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. And we're gonna back up to where we are at the top there.
Sure. So the absorption happens the same across the populations. It's pretty standard. The elimination depends on a variety of things, including your own genetics and how ramped up your liver enzymes are for metabolizing the alcohol. That's why there's the range of 0.015 to 0.025 per hour. So if you multiply that 5-hour time gap, then this becomes either an additional 0.075 to 0.125 that you would add to that. So then we're looking at a level at 7:30, again, assuming that everything has been absorbed, 0.317 to 0.367.
Okay, so that would be at 7, using your 7:30 range.
That's assuming that all of the alcohol has been absorbed and that you're in the constant elimination phase.
Okay, so using your sliding graph, if we're now up at 9 p.m.
Okay. Can we do 9:30 for the sake of ease of math?
We could do 9:30 for the sake of ease and that.
Okay, great.
So there was testimony that, by Mr. Floyd, that this event happened sometime after 9, before 10. Where would your absorption process be numerically?
Can you rephrase that? I'm not sure that I understand your.
What do you think the blood alcohol would be at 9:30?
Great. So for that, you've got 3 hours earlier. So you multiply each of these numbers here by 3. So that would be an additional 0.045 to 0.075. Then you add that to what the value was. So that would be 0.287 to 0.317. Somewhere in that time frame at 9:30.
Okay, thank you. That's all I'm going to do to the diagram. You have a seat. You made reference, if I may, to 100+ years of data regarding alcohol and DACs and stuff like that. In your experience, have you ever had to deal with the 0.08 being legally done?
I mean, I have taken care of plenty of patients who have had
Okay.
blood alcohol. So
What is the significance of this arbitrary number of drunk driving being a 0.08?
So what that means is that the state has looked at the scientific literature in terms of driving studies where they've put people in simulated vehicles, and they get people to certain levels of drunkenness, for lack of a better term, or intoxication, and then they determine what is your speed of reaction, your cognitive processing, your visual processing, your ability to track things. Driving is a very complicated task. And so the state of Michigan has settled on 0.08 as being its level where really you shouldn't be driving above that. You are per se impaired. And then additionally, there is a super drunk law in Michigan where they've settled on 0.17 as being super drunk. And that, my understanding, I wasn't there during all these processes when this was made, but they looked at the literature and said, you know what, this requires additional penalties above and beyond the 0.08 because at this point, this person is severely impaired.
So that's a 0.17.
0.17.
So there are no super drunks for even at the low end, the 0.28. Is there?
Not in Michigan.
Would there be an acknowledgement that even at the low end, let's average it out to make it a 0.3. I mean, that cuts that in the middle, taking into things. What are the expectations of an individual that has a blood alcohol content of 0.30?
When you say what are the expectations?
Let's talk about executive function.
Okay.
What is executive functioning when you're dealing with alcohol-induced conditions?
Well, I'll say that I'm going to split that up into 2 different answers. So the first one is what is executive functioning? And that is the higher level processes in the brain, things that are your brain has a bunch of different anatomical structures, and the part that is responsible for judgment and planning are typically associated with executive functioning. So things like memory, working memory, and elements like that. There are additional elements that alcohol will affect, in addition to affecting those, which alcohol does. Alcohol will also affect things like coordination and speech. Eventually, people will know that you start not being able to walk in a straight line. You start not having to slur your words and things like that. So the alcohol does affect ultimately every part of the brain, just at different concentrations.
What about memory?
Absolutely.
What about well, explain that.
So their memory is, again, a very complicated thing, but you have to have something that you are going to remember. So your brain has to interpret a stimulus, either visual or, auditory or sensation. And then you have to encode that memory in your brain, and that entire process is affected by alcohol, is impaired by that process.
When you say impaired by that process, does it mean you're more likely to not understand, more likely not to remember?
All of the above.
Would it mean that you're more likely to have a diminished ability to remember the events of an evening?
Yes.
Would it be, could it be as minimal as I went to the bathroom to the left versus I went to the bathroom to the right? Whether there were people in a restaurant, whether I went to hold on to a dancer, those types of memories would be affected.
All memory formation is affected.
Would memory be more affected, if I may, Your Honor, come up here, at 0.31 than as opposed to 0.08?
Yes, I would expect that would be.
What would be your expectations of a memory effect at 0.30?
Well, again, this is large populations, but writ large, I would expect that a blood alcohol of 0.3, they would be potentially, a person would be confused about the order of things, the timing of things, interpreting somebody's reaction or interpreting somebody's motives, as well as basic things like the bathroom was across the hall or the bathroom was to the right or things like that.
Are there occasions when you blow so high, you have such a high blood alcohol level that you don't remember anything?
Yeah, so you just said when you blow that high. And
Well, yeah,
I want to make sure.
0.30, at a 0.30 blood alcohol.
Okay. It is possible that somebody could, I think as a culture, like I said, we've had 100 years of post-prohibition comfort, for lack of a better word, with alcohol. And I think we've seen it in media and potentially in our personal lives where somebody has been quote unquote blackout drunk, where they have absolutely no memory of the evening. But a person that level, there's no set level where you say, okay, I know that 100% of the people are going to be blacked out at 0.3 or whatever, but I certainly, there are plenty of people who would have difficulty making memories of any type at 0.3.
Would their memory be greatly diminished?
Yes.
Would they be impaired?
Yes.
Severely impaired at a 0.30?
I would use the term severely impaired for 0.3.
Any attempts to recollect what may or may not have happened would be questioned.
I would say that would be true.
Would those types of exhibited behavior coincide with someone not being able to pick people out of a lineup subsequently when they can't remember?
Can you rephrase the question a little bit?
Bad question. Within a few weeks of this alleged incident, there was an opportunity from the complaining individual that he attempted to pick photographs out of lineups, and he picked 3 people that were not.
No, don't do that in a proper question.
What's improper about the question?
It's not, the way he's phrasing it is not a question. He's making a statement.
This is an expert though. He's allowing him to give his opinion about this question of objections overruled. Okay.
And basically, what I'm saying is after, at a 0.30, within 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, this alleged individual picks people out of lineups, two people who weren't even there at night, and one person who had nothing to do with it. Would that be explainable by the high alcohol?
Yes.
Why?
Because again, in order to make a memory, you have to have some sort of thing that you're going to remember, and you have to encode that. And that entire process, both the sensory input as well as encoding it in your brain, is affected. And then the ability to recall that later is all of those are severely affected by alcohol, especially at 0.3.
I beg your pardon, Your Honor.
Yes.
What would be the appearance of someone, a standard person at 0.3?
Well,
Hold on.
Pardon?
I'm telling the witness to hold on. Your question is very broad. You said what would be the appearance?
I'll narrow it down.
Okay, thank you.
Always, the judge is always right. Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Bora, if I'm at a 0.30, can I walk?
most of the time, yes, you're gonna be able to walk at 0.3.
But I can't. Yeah, yes, I know.
I'm not familiar with your abilities.
Okay, but you're gonna have a difficult time walking.
The way that I would describe it, if we're talking in generalities, is that most people at a 0.3, if they're going to be walking, are not going to necessarily be able to walk in a straight line.
Okay, what about talking?
They're going to be able to talk. However, the content and the structure of their thoughts may be disorganized.
What about, if you have hallucinations or anything like that?
I wouldn't expect somebody to be hallucinating at 0.3. However, they may be impaired in terms of what they're seeing.
They may perceive.
They may not see something that is there. It's more likely that they're going to not recognize that something is there, as opposed to see something that's not there. Seeing something that's not there is hallucinating, and typically it's with alcohol withdrawal that we talk about people having hallucinations, seeing bugs crawling on their skin or seeing a flying pink elephant in the corner. But that's not, that level of hallucination is not typically present with impairment or withdrawal state.
At the at a 0.30, if we're using that number, do you have an expectation that this person's ability to recall the events of that night will be diminished?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have marked this as proposed exhibit I, which is the doctor's diagram, and I move for its submission.
Any objection? Strike that. Defense, proposed exhibit I is admitted as defendant. Exhibit I.
Would there be an expectation, Dr. Bora, that a person's memory of events of a night 5 years ago at a 0.30 might be diminished?
Yes.
I have nothing further. You can ask.
How are you?
Oh, yeah, well, it's for a minute. I don't have to publish it.
It's public, I can see it. Yeah. So I'm not gonna tell you.
He's got a 6-bar number. He's got a 6-bar number. I got the 2-bar number.
And I got a 4, so what's the?
Well, you and I are on the same page.
All right.
I was in another state.
Cross examine. I always forget when this, all of these people on this side, cross examination.
Yes, sir.
Good morning,
Before you begin, I do apologize. on another matter. Ms. Stevenson, did you send Mr. Byrd the emails, or is he just on? Oh, I sent them this morning, I think. You didn't see them this morning? Okay, and I'll check again. Ms. Ready?
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Bora.
Good morning, ma'am.
So, Dr. Bora, I just have a few questions based on your testimony. And if you can't hear me or you need me to repeat a question, just let me know and I'll do so, okay?
I will do that.
Thank you. So, Dr. Bora, I did have a chance to look at your resume, which is pretty impressive. And my question is, have you ever been an expert witness before?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Roughly how many times have you been an expert witness?
If you're talking about reviewing cases as an expert witness, I've done probably 75 or so, maybe 80.
What about testifying as an expert witness?
If you're in court, this is my second time. However, I've given about 10 depositions and some of them have been trial depositions.
Okay, so this is your second time in court testifying as an expert witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's not what he said, Your Honor. He said that he's given trial depositions.
Objection to this?
Objection is misleading statement by counsel.
Okay. All right, and remember, and I know we're objecting for the record, and I'm, as much as possible, gonna definitely make sure I allow you all to make a record, but it's a bench trial, and I know. He said, 2 times in court as an expert, but the depositions were trial depositions, so they count. There's testimony, like if a person doesn't testify in person, that's what Mr. Sherbo is saying, right? Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So, okay, go ahead.
I apologize. I'm trying to just be very straightforward about it. Right?
You're doing a great job, and I appreciate it.
I like smoke.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. So, Dr. Bora, during those trials or cases that you have been an expert witness for, have you ever did a written report?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and what do you base your written reports off of?
The facts of the case as well as the totality of my training and experience.
Okay, and do you do that each time you testify?
Do I prepare a written report every time that I testify, either in court or as a deposition?
Right.
No, I do not.
Okay, and in this case, did you do a written report?
I did not do a written report.
Okay, in this case, did you interview the complaining witness?
I did not.
Okay, and just going back to my initial question, Dr. Bora, I'm sorry. When you were testifying as an expert witness, were you on behalf of defense or plaintiff or prosecution?
So I have done both civil and criminal cases, and I reviewed cases for both sides. However, the majority of my work is for defense usually, but that's just because that's who contacts me.
Okay. And in this case, Dr. Bora, did you see the lineup that Mr. Sherbo referred to?
When you say lineup, can you tell me what that means?
The lineups in this matter. The lineups that were used for identification purposes.
Oh, no, I did not.
You did not review those lineups? Okay. Did you see any statements that were made in this case?
I believe I did. I have the sum of the records that I was provided here, and there was a statement by Erica Augenstein, and then there was an interview that was conducted by one of the police officers.
Do you know who that interview was from? I'm sorry.
That was from Christopher Floyd, taken by Derek Mason.
Okay, so you had a chance to review that statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Dr. Bora, let me ask you, because I don't know a lot about medicine or anything medical, but is there a difference between hospital blood and whole blood? And when I say hospital blood, I'm referring to the serum blood that you testified.
Okay, yeah, so yes, there is a difference between whole blood and the serum from blood.
Okay, can you explain what serum blood is?
Sure, so serum is the part of the blood that is not blood cells. So your blood, if you were to just, nick myself and were to start bleeding, things that would come out would be red blood cells, white blood cells, platelet, and then serum.
Okay, and can you explain what whole blood is?
Whole blood is all of those things put together, and serum is just the liquid part of that.
Okay, and you testified that you worked in the hospital, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and in the hospital, do they use serum blood?
When you say use, can you tell me what you mean by that?
When the hospital draws blood for medical treatment, do they use serum blood or whole blood?
It depends on the test.
Okay, and as far as whole blood, from what you know, is that typically blood used for forensic labs for like DUI cases or cases of that sort?
I apologize. You asked him whole blood?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So again, it depends on the test that's being run, and what they're looking for. So in the case of alcohol, because it is, like I said earlier, it's based, your body treats it very similar to water. And so it stays with the water things, for lack of a better term, right? So it stays largely in the serum. That's where most of the water is, because that's what makes it up. Whole blood has the cells in it. Those cells also have water content that is more or less equivalent to what's in the serum.
Okay, so in general, Dr. Moore, there's a difference between whole blood and serum blood, correct?
Yes, the whole blood has the serum and the cells that make up the rest of the blood. Things like platelets that cause your blood to clot, white blood cells that fight off infection, and then red blood cells that carry oxygen. That's an oversimplification, but it'll do.
Okay, and is it safe to say that the plasma used in serum blood would produce a result about 10 to 15% higher than whole blood?
No, well, I think what you're trying to ask is a different question. So can I just ask you to restate your question a little bit?
The question I just asked?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the difference between plasma blood and whole blood, would there be a higher percentage of alcohol in plasma blood versus whole blood?
Yes, slightly.
Okay, and when you say slightly, by how much, do you know, based on your opinions and your?
Yeah, it's been reported in the range of about 5 to 10%.
About 5 to 10% of alcohol in plasma blood versus whole blood?
Correct.
Okay. Judge, may I have a moment?
You may.
May I approach?
You may.
Just got paid. Serum. It's this right.
So Dr. Moore, I just handed you a document, and looking at the bottom of that document, there is a drug analysis for blood that was drawn. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you read what that says on that document, or what type of blood was drawn?
Sure. Well, that's two separate things, but I'll answer your question. So it says ethanol serum, 242 milligrams per deciliter high, and ethanol percent, 0.242% high. Just to be clear, they draw whole blood, but then the lab spins it down and they analyze the serum.
So, but in that report, the serum was used from that blood draw, correct?
Correct. The serum is the part that's tested.
That's okay.
They don't test the whole blood, because that's not what you would test for alcohol.
Okay, fair enough. So, based on the ethanol serum in that report and the diagram you drew in court, would that change your numbers based on what type of blood was used in there?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why not?
Because the serum is the liquid part. That's the part that all of the studies are done on. And that's the part that goes into the brain and affects the brain. So whole blood, it doesn't, when blood goes into the brain, it goes in through the arteries and the arterial, and you get to the capillaries. It's in the capillaries where you have the exchange of nutrients. So oxygen goes out, waste products come in. In the case of the brain, in this particular case with ethanol, ethanol goes from the serum into the brain, and then that's what causes the brain effects. So the fact that they're testing the serum is the right test because that's the part that equilibrates with the brain, and it doesn't really change my numbers there because we're talking all of the studies, anything that I'm talking about, is going to be talking about serum.
Okay, so again, Dr. Burr, I don't know anything about medicine.
Oh, you're doing great.
So you testified that there's a difference as far as 5 to 10% in serum versus whole blood, correct?
Yes.
So what difference were you referring to in your testimony?
I wasn't referring to any difference in my test. What I was saying is that the ethanol that was tested in the serum is the ethanol, like that represents the ethanol that was in the blood, because ethanol is largely in the serum. It's almost always in the serum. It's just that the volume of blood is taken up by cells, red blood cells, platelets, white blood cells, that sort of thing. So it doesn't affect my numbers or my discussion about any of this.
Okay.
Whole blood versus serum.
Okay, so you testified to Mr. Sherbrooke earlier that your testimony is based on your opinion of the general population, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you testified that varies from person to person, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you also testified that as far as the levels of alcohol in the blood, that can vary from person to person, is that correct?
I'd like a little bit of explanation what you mean by that.
Well, you said the levels change from person to person as far as the alcohol in the blood system. Or am I misquoting?
Well, I want to make sure that I'm addressing the specific area that you're talking about. So person to person, you will vary in your elimination rate. And you can vary to a certain extent in how any particular level is going to affect you. But yeah, for the sake, that's why I gave the range of 0.015 to 0.025. Because that's based on the lower level. The 0.015 is sort of a person who is a naive drinker or somebody who doesn't drink heavily and may have different genes. The 0.025 is more for somebody who is, got a ramped up metabolism system for whatever reason, genetics, or maybe because they're, for other reasons.
Okay, so does that also depend on if the person is an occasional drinker or somebody who drinks on a daily basis?
Correct, that's what I was trying to get at. So the occasional drinker person, I would use the 0.015. A heavy drinker, I might use 0.025.
Okay. And you've seen different intoxicated patients in the hospital before, correct?
I have. Yes.
Okay, and can you say that the impairment or functions of a person who's intoxicated varies from each person?
Each person's response to any particular blood alcohol level will be different, but will fall within a range of normal. So a standard, just as if we were to interview 100 people out on the street and ask them to do any variety of tasks with a blood alcohol level of 0, their ability to do those things were to, recall things, or walk in a straight line, or tap dance, as Mr. Sherbrooke referenced earlier. Any particular population is going to have a range of ability with a blood alcohol level of 0, and any particular population is going to have a range of ability at a 0.3.
Okay, now does that differ from male versus female?
In terms of at a given level, is a male or female going to be more or less impaired?
Correct.
I'm not familiar with that part of the literature, if that exists.
Okay, what about weight?
So weight would go into determining whether or not, like, how much your level goes up for any particular drink. So if I were to give a glass of wine to my mother-in-law who weighs about 100 pounds, her ethanol level would be higher than if I were to give that same level of alcohol to a 400-pound person.
Okay,
That would affect the level that they get to. But once we get to a particular level, then you're talking about, again, that population range and what kind of behaviors, what sort of effects you would expect to see. So it might take my mother-in-law, it might take her only, 7 drinks to get to a level of, 0.24 or 0.3 because she weighs so little. It would take a heavier person more drinks to get to that level. But once you get to that level, the impairment then within a normal range.
One moment.
how much? I don't know what. Not that much longer, I just got a couple more questions.
Like less than 5 minutes. I just want to take care of the 3 people waiting.
About that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so Dr. Gore, as far as the memory loss, you testified that a person at 0.3 would have a significant impairment to their memory, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you this, Dr. Gore, a person at 0.3, would they be able to coordinate at all?
When you say coordinate, what do you mean by that?
Walk, talk?
Yes, it's not unexpected for somebody at a 0.3 to be able to walk and have conversations.
Okay, and a person at a 0.3, would they be able to remember, say what a person was wearing or what a person was doing?
It's going to be variable. Maybe yes, maybe no.
But it depends.
But it would depend. However, I would say their ability to form those memories and recall them at a 0.3 is going to be, regardless of who it is, any particular person, that ability to form those memories and recall them is going to be significantly impaired at a 0.3 as opposed to a 0.
I have no further questions.
All right, I'm gonna take a recess from this case. I have 3 Zoom matters I need to take care of. So anyone other than the necessary people on these cases, feel free to go to the restroom or move about the cabin. But come back at 11 o'clock. Yes, Mr.
I don't know if co-defendants have any questions of the doctor, because I don't know what time,
11, you told me he was here till 11:30.
well, he could stay till 11.
I thought, didn't you tell me that?
I said 11, but that's okay.
Oh, okay, well.
He's having a good time.
He'll
Well,
be all
let's
right, he's having a nice time with us.
Okay.
But, well, before we break, are there any questions on behalf of Mr. Dittmore for the witness?
Okay.
I have 2.
And any on behalf of Mr. Abramsky?
Maybe 1 or 2.
All right, and then the court has about 1 or 2 unless they get asked with the other
Okay.
attorneys.
Great.
So let's just make it shorter, am I taking a plea?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah, it needs to be 11 o'clock. You can hang with us until 11:15, a little bit, Doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this case is in recess. All right. Who's doing the other case? Is it Mr. Birds? He's in the breakout room.
Let me try to do this before.
All right, and you said it's, okay. Recalling case number 20-447-1401, the people versus Shakia Boykin. Defendant is charged with 1 count of assault or assault and battery. Today is the day set for a pretrial conference. Appearances again, please.
Your Honor, if it please the court, I'm sorry. I apologize, because I can't really talk on there. Mr. Byrd can hit. Mr. Byrd is okay with Ms. Ridner. I don't know if he talked.
He talked to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
So what's wrong?
Then I don't have to do anything, I don't think.
Okay, appearances again, please.
For the record, Your Honor, Christina Ritter on behalf of the people.
You're muted.
Yes, Your Honor. Brandon Byrd on behalf of Shakia Boykin. Ms. Boykin, please state your full name for the record.
Shakia Boykin.
All right, so we send Ms. Boykin back into the breakout room with respect to this remaining case. How are we proceeding?
Your Honor, respectfully, we have spoken with Sister Prosecutor who stated that Ms. Boykin, if she pleads guilty, that she could get time served. Ms. Boykin would like to take Sister Prosecutor up on that offer.
Ms. Ritter, that's your sentencing recommendation?
My recommendation is plead guilty to assault and battery in exchange for credit for time served.
Ms. Boykin, do you want to plead guilty today and the people recommend your sentence being credit for time served?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, did you have an opportunity to go over your constitutional rights with your lawyer?
Yes, I did.
When you did that, Ms. Boykin, did you understand your constitutional rights?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand that this is a misdemeanor and therefore you have a right to a trial. However, if I accept this plea from you today, you will be giving up your right to a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone threatened you in any way or promised you anything that was not placed on the record to get you to enter this plea today?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Boykin, are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Boykin, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, who's gonna void there, Ms. Boykin?
Sister Prosecutor could void there.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
All right,
Ms. Boykin, on April 21st, 2020, were you near 9644 Otsego Street in the city of Detroit?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the county of Wayne?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that location on that day, did you come in contact with the Michelle Bentley?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you came in contact with Michelle Bentley, did you strike her?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you do so without her permission?
Yes, ma'am.
And Judge, for the record, I would correct the date as to April 19th, 2020. I'm sorry.
all right.
You want me to read that?
What day did you say?
April 21st.
It's on or about, you all right?
Thank you, Judge. So at this time, Your Honor, the people are satisfied with the question, please.
Is the defense satisfied?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the court is satisfied and I will accept the guilty plea to one count of assault or assault and battery. While the offer from the people is to recommend to the court credit for time served, the victim has a right to make a victim impact statement. Ms. Boykin was only being held on this case, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, so I am gonna set the matter for sentencing and I will set the matter for this coming Friday. And if Ms. Ritter can get in touch with the victim and see if they want to make a victim impact statement, otherwise the court will just proceed with the sentencing. How long has Ms. been in custody?
She told me a week. How long have you been in custody, Ms. Boykin?
Since last Saturday.
Oh, Ms. Ritter, the face scan all turned up and stuff.
I don't think that's. She had a sudden violation.
Oh, she's been on for the tether violation, but we'll find out how many days she actually served in the Wayne County Jail, and then, that's most likely the sentence, as recommended by the people. But I do have to give the victim an opportunity to come and give a victim impact statement. So I'm gonna set the sentencing for this coming Friday, September the, 15th at 9:00 a.m.
And Judge, can I just say something for the record?
Excuse me.
Ma'am, hold on.
Okay.
So In my conversation with the people, I did represent to Ms. Ritter that I believe that Ms. Boykin had about 3 weeks time in custody.
Okay, we'll
If it
find out by
turns
Friday.
Okay, and if it turns out that that's not the case, then I guess we can revisit.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Ms. Boykin, what is it?
Can y'all make sure y'all take, when I'm being released, can y'all make sure y'all take that thing off so it won't be somebody I gotta get it tethered?
Ma'am, what?
Tethered.
No, okay.
I'm saying,
Anything further for the record?
No, Judge.
Cause that's what.
Anything further for the record? For the record, it's for the
Nothing
record.
further for the record, yeah.
She's on post sentence, so y'all, I mean, she's on post plea. Anything further for the record?
Nothing further
Nothing
for the record, yeah.
Okay. Then, Ms. Boykin, you gonna be all set, and we'll see you, either on Zoom or in person on Friday, okay?
okay, that's what I was gonna say, can y'all
On
give me the?
Zoom, in person on Friday. I have to go, Ms. Boykin. And you sound like you got some questions for your lawyer. I'll put you back in the breakout room.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, okay. I don't even speak. Where's it? Oh. All right, I'm ready on, McMakin and Ritter. Those are reviews. Yeah, those are reviews. You have a minute. Y'all had to deal with that. I don't. All right, let's see here. Let's just go with, I don't think anybody is getting. Oh, Mr. McMakin, let's do Mr. McMakin first. This is case number, 214542901, the people versus Samuel McMakin. Defendant is charged with malicious destruction of property, and today is the date set for review. Mr. Byrd.
Yes, Your Honor. Brandon Byrd on behalf of Samuel McMakin. Mr. McMakin, please state your full name for the record.
Samuel James McMakin.
All right, today is the day set for review, and I thought Mr. McMakin had something left. However, upon further review of the report from probation, Mr. McMakin has paid his fines and costs, completed anger management, paid his outstanding tickets, provided proof of his medication, and then at 7:30 this morning, Ms. McCall indicated that she also received proof of his enrollment in mental health treatment. Therefore, it appears that he does not have any conditions except to follow the recommendations of his mental health treatment. But when did I put him on probation?
March 13th.
This is his first review. This is his first review. And I put him on for 12 months. March. So this is his halfway point. Is this his halfway point?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and discharge Mr. McMakin with improvement and dismiss the case with prejudice.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you're welcome. Great job, Mr. McMakin. Great job.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you're all set. Continue the good work, and we'll mail you a copy of that dismissal and discharge for your records, okay?
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you're welcome. All right, I'm ready on Rittner. This is case number 204569601, the people of the state of Michigan versus Kaylin Rittner. And the defendant is charged with 1 count of assault or assault and battery. And today is the date set for review. Appearance, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Brandon Byrd on behalf of Kaylin Rittner. Ms. Rittner, please state your full name for the record.
Kaylin Rittner.
Today is the day set for review. I do have a report for probation that I don't like. So this is what I have to say. First of all, it's not necessary ever to get smart. Second of all, I don't like the report from probation, so here's the thing. Probation is the alternative to jail, and jail is the alternative to probation. If Ms. Reitner does not believe that she can afford the anger management, she don't have time for this, she gotta work, let's go to jail. And then when she get out, she will be free to go to work, to pay her bills. The cost of living is high, and so was it when she assaulted the victim. So how we proceeding? Because I'm sure the victim felt the same way Ms. Reitner feels. How we proceeding today? Because I don't have time for this.
Your Honor, I'm just asking, if we could give Ms. Reitner a chance to finish that, and to at least do the anger management classes. I did have a talk with Ms. Reitner about it. She indicated to me that she paid for 2 of the classes. At first, she couldn't figure out how to get online, and tried to show up, and showed up the next day. When she showed up the next day, she was an hour late because she had her times mixed up. The probation officer gave her someone else to go to, but
Is
they
that
wanted.
what happened? When did that happen? Because on September 7th, she spoke to Ms. McCall. This was the other day. The other day, she spoke to Ms. McCall. And the other day, she said to Ms. McCall, she is not rich. She has bills to pay. Cost of living is high. She works 12-hour shifts. She works all the time and cannot afford to pay for the anger management program. That was on September 7th, according to Ms. McCall. Today is only September the 12th. That was last Thursday. She said she ain't have time for this. So she don't have time, I don't have time. We don't have time.
She has time, Your Honor.
Oh, because the Wayne County Jail got plenty of time. They have full-time deputies that go to work at the Wayne County Jail. So everybody come on back in. They have full-time deputies that go to work at the Wayne County Jail. And that's what they do every day. That's their 12-hour job. They on 12-hour shifts at the Wayne County Jail. And we can knock it out. And then she can come out and pay her bills and go to work.
We're asking respectfully not to go that route, Your Honor.
Okay, well then she shouldn't say that ever again to probation. If you don't want me to think that she don't want to do probation, then because if you don't want to do probation, that means you want the alternative to probation. And there is an alternative to probation. Probation is the alternative to jail. In the reverse, jail is the alternative to probation. Do that anger management, or we're gonna do the alternative to probation. How much time does she need to do the 12 weeks? Because we could go to 12 weeks anger management or 12 weeks Wayne County. Which is it?
How long do you need for the 12 weeks, Ms. Reitner?
I told Ms. McCall that I could.
I didn't ask you that. I didn't say what you told Ms. McCall, because then that means I gotta bring Ms. McCall in. I'm reading from the paper. I said, how long do you need to do the anger management?
I can afford the next payday to start the anger management classes. If you've got 12 weeks, I need 12 weeks.
Let's continue her to the final review date. What's her final review date?
March 6, 2024.
March 6, 2024. That's plenty of time to do the anger management. Otherwise, when we come in March, she's going to the Wayne County Jail. Anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, what's her actual date? I'm sorry. March 6, 2024. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. Have a great day. Stay safe.
You too. It's always good to see you.
Always good to see you too. All right. Miss Lisa gonna turn on her camera.
That's my friend.
Is that your friend or your coworker? Would he have anything to do with you if you put in his coworker? I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
Oh, because my coworkers wouldn't have nothing to do with me. All right. Doctor, come on back up. They'll be like, lady, I worked with you and now I don't. Don't call me, lose my number.
Disagree.
We just playing. All right. All right, on behalf of Mr. Ditmore.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have a couple of questions. One was, based on that alcohol level of 0.31, is it possible, and you talked about hallucinations, is it possible to have false memories or remember something that didn't happen?
Yes,
And someone could be sincere, but just remember the wrong or different events. Is that correct?
correct.
I have no.
Ms. Stevenson?
Okay, so I should have been formulating my question on the break instead of talking. So I'm sorry. It's not.
Instead of chit chat.
Yeah, so this isn't gonna come out right. But
Y'all see how she blaming this on me?
what I wanna know is, so if that blood alcohol level, 0.3, a person has an experience, is their level of intoxication a reason that they might recall that experience, or they may describe that experience on 3 different occasions in 3 different ways? So do you understand that question?
I think I do, and the answer would be yes. Because again, and this is a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but I'm gonna speak generally about things medical. And that has to do with the formation of memories. You actually, when you remember something, you don't actually, at least my understanding of the current.
I'm sorry, I looked at something. It appears that the witness is stating that he's opining at this particular moment outside of his scope of expertise.
Okay, so then doctor, could you formulate an
Objection
opinion?
sustained.
Can you formulate an opinion within your scope of expertise that would still address that issue?
And the issue that you're asking me about is whether or not somebody's recollection would change over time based on alcohol.
Yes.
So, yeah, the basic answer is yes. Somebody's memory can, or their description of events can change based on alcohol levels of 0.3. That definitely is the case.
Okay. All right. And so at a level of intoxication of 0.3, a person's perception of an event is going to be negatively impacted. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And then their ability to recall or to describe that experience is also going to be negatively impacted. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything further.
All right, Ms. Sherwood, any redirect?
No, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, Doctor, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think actually Ms. Easton just touched on my one question. The person has to initially have an ability to perceive the incident. So what I'm perceiving while I'm drunk is maybe distorting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I tried to get in that in my earlier testimony.
Yes.
Memory formation is very complex, requires an initial thing that you have to remember.
Right.
And your ability to process that thing, whatever it is, sight, smell, sound, whatever, that sensing that is going to be impaired, as well as the encoding into your memory is going to be impaired.
Okay, but at the level that was given to you in the non-hypothetical that you opined on the walk with this paper, that person, they're not at a hallucination level though. They're just they might just be perceiving that the officer's badge is on the right. So I'm looking at the officer and he has a badge and this is my right hand And if I'm impaired, I might say, that bad, he got a badge on the right hand, on the right side. But if I'm not impaired, I know that that's really his left side,
Correct.
correct?
That would be an example of, and I tried to say it earlier about not necessarily hallucinating, where you see something that's
That's
not
not
there, like
there.
a floating elephant or something.
Right, 'cause-
But you can misperceive something or
Right.
misinterpret your perception of something.
That's there.
That's much more common with alcohol intoxication. Hallucinations are more common with alcohol withdrawal.
Thank you. And then at the level that was given to you in the example, with that level of intoxication, so you described some mannerisms, is what I'm gonna call it, a person's mannerism. You described some mannerism. At the level that was given to you in the example, would it be noticeable to other people, though, the slurred speech, maybe not walking straight, at that level, would those things be noticeable to other people?
I would expect that at a level of 0.3, there would be some things that if somebody were asking themselves, is this person impaired right now at a custody level or on any access? I would expect there to be some things, whether or not a person would notice them is going to depend on their familiarity with what people are like with at levels of 0.3.
Right.
So for example, if I were at a 0.3 and I were and all I had to do was just sit here, then I could probably just sit here. But you might notice me swaying a little bit more than normal, but that might be within normal behavior for me. So the more complicated the behavior, the more likely it is that somebody is going to show overt signs of impairment. And I say that just because it's very easy to sit in a bar and just go like this to order another drink. It would be another thing if they had to go up and perform a field sobriety test
Right.
to get a drink.
Okay, thank you, that's great. That makes my question. Finally, there were some questions asked by Madam Prosecutor. And I just want to make sure my understanding is correct, okay?
Please.
So you talked about whole blood, these were her words, I don't know if those are the actual medical terms, but whole blood versus serum. So whole blood includes everything that we hear about separately sometimes, platelets, white blood cells, red blood cells, that is what is whole blood.
Correct.
Serum is a part of the whole blood.
Correct.
You said in response to someone's questions, I don't know, that the testing for your alcohol level is done from the serum.
Correct.
So my question that I wrote down was just always with question mark. So is that always the case? If a person is, let's say, stopped for drunk driving and they're taken to the hospital because they refuse a PDT, and then the hospital draws their blood, what is the hospital going to test when they draw the blood?
If they're looking for alcohol, they're going to test the serum because that's where it is and that's where they're going to find it. If it's there.
Okay.
So I think what she was referencing is the fact that the things that are not serum, the cells and things like that, take up a certain amount of volume. And so if you take those things out or keep them in, it's going to change the volume. And so when you look at these things, the serum, it's a serum concentration. It's the concentration of ethanol in that serum. If they were to test whole blood, which they can do whole blood tests for alcohol. They didn't in this case, and it's not common most of the time, it's just serum. But if they were to test whole blood, the fact is that those cells take up a little bit of the volume, but that's not where the alcohol is. The alcohol is in the liquid on top.
And then you all talked about a 5 to 10% differential.
Yeah.
So if they tested the whole blood, right? So if I look at those numbers that you have on your chart, and at 12:30, they tested his whole blood and said it was 3.242. That's what I was looking, yes, okay. They said it was 0.242. If they tested the whole blood versus the serum blood, so if they had tested the whole blood, would that number be higher or lower?
The number would be a little bit lower because because the cells take up
Take
some
up more time,
percentage, right?
thank
So you just basically have that. I'm sorry, I may have misspoken there. In the serum, because they're analyzing a smaller amount of volume, its concentration is over the volume, so the smaller, it's higher if you test the serum as opposed to testing.
Right. And then, so I can't do math like you did up there, they teach y'all that in medical school.
And now it's kind of prerequisite, you gotta.
Oh, yes, listen.
I've heard other people who I will not name say that the difference between doctors and lawyers is.
The math. Yeah, I mean, cause, yeah, that took me out the game, I wasn't gonna do math, okay, so, but I love law. So 2.42 whole blood would be still at, if I go with the 5 to 10%, it would be 0.232, is that?
0.2, yeah, 0.21 to 0.23, somewhere in
Something
that
like that.
range.
Thank you.
It would be, yeah, just because, again, you'd have to add 10% to the volume, so it's
Okay.
subtract 10%.
Thank you. All right. Are there any questions based only, capital O, capital N, capital L, capital Y, only on the questions that the court asked, starting with Mr. Sherbo?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Bora, would it be a fair statement that the standard of the industry, when you're talking about alcohol and blood, you're talking about serum blood draws?
Yes.
And this hypothecating about 5%, give or take, with whole blood is not the standard used in your experience as an expert in these matters.
Most of the time, that's true, yes.
And if the judge asks you a question, and of course, as we say, your questions are always the best, about perceiving badges on the right versus the left, and I think you said that you could perceive left and right. It's like when you look in a mirror and it's half cocked, you're looking with your left hand and show your right hand. And I think you said that that could be. Did I make myself clear or not?
Yes.
But, so if you can't perceive whether it's left or the right, then it'd be a fair statement that you wouldn't be able to perceive white, black, tall, little. You may not be able to perceive anything.
Yeah, it's true. However, I think that the more granular you get, the more likely, finer things are going to be less likely or more likely to be misinterpreted, right? So I'm more likely to, just glancing at you, say that you have a ring on your third finger as opposed to your fourth finger, as opposed to saying you're a woman versus you're a man, right? There's levels of perception that can be affected. Finer points tend to be lost, but larger scale items, like I knew where I was that night, but I don't remember who I talked to, for example, hypothetical. Or I knew I was in the state of Michigan, but I couldn't tell you where. So it's all varying levels of not just perception, but also encoding of that perception.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
On behalf of Mr. Abramsky, because you keep jumping up.
I'm sorry, Judge. Okay, so if you, I know that normally they do serum, they analyze the serum, but if they analyze the whole blood at 9:30, what would you say the level of intoxication was? If it was serum at 0.242 at 7:30 a.m.
So you're asking me my best estimate for what it would have been at 9:30 if they had tested whole blood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My best estimate would be about
Thank you.
Mr. Farina?
When you talked about doctor, for instance, like you might have been in the state of Michigan, but something happened. You could remember you were in a bar and you got into an altercation, but you, at that 0.31 level, you might not remember exactly what happened. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
On behalf of the people.
So Dr. Board, just for clarification, I'm gonna have one question.
Okay.
With finer details, maybe you said there'll be more likely to misinterpret finer details.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, if I were at a point, what did you say, 0.31?
27.
27, I'm sorry, if I was at a 0.27 and I saw someone, one person with a white shirt, but 3 or 4 other people with a black shirt, is that more likely to be misinterpreted as that type of thing?
Are you asking about the number of people? I mean, I guess it's all gonna be
I'm talking
affected
about
to
the
it.
detailed part, the color of the shirt.
Yeah, all of those things are up for grabs, in terms of your ability to perceive them. It may be the case that you can remember colors because you have a memory for colors. It may be the case that you remember numbers of people because you have a memory for, your foundation of your memory is better at remembering numbers.
So it
So
varies.
it's gonna vary from person to person.
Okay, no further questions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Moore. I said 11:15, but it's 11:19, but thank you so much. You are free to, you may step down and you are free to leave.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
You're very welcome. Have a great day, stay safe. All right. That concludes at this moment the defense's interruption of the people's case. So now we're back to the people's case. And who is your next witness?
Thank you, Judge. At this time, the people like to call Lieutenant White.
All right, I'm gonna try to get through Lieutenant White without a break, but I might not be able to, so. Yes, Zoom is done. We're just up because I am live streaming. And it is my intention to stop at 12:30 for lunch, exactly at 12:30, unless, we are close to finishing a witness, then I might go over. Come this way, okay. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, Lieutenant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Lieutenant, there is a sequestration order on this case, and the court is live streaming. Lieutenant, did you watch any of these proceedings on the YouTube live stream?
No, I did not.
All right, you may be seated. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Lieutenant White.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can you state your full name for the record, please?
Lorraine Driscoll White.
Okay, and Lieutenant White, where are you occupied right now?
I'm a Detroit Police Lieutenant currently assigned to the 7th Precinct.
Okay, and how long have you been with DPD as a whole?
24 years.
24 years, okay. And Lieutenant White, I want to take you back to around April 20th of 2018. Do you recall around that time?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you recall there being an incident at the Coliseum Bar?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and is the Coliseum Bar located in the city of Detroit?
Yes, it is.
And is that the county of Wayne?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and at that time, regarding the Coliseum Bar, Lieutenant White, did you actually have a role in this investigation for this incident?
Yes, I did. At that time, I was assigned to 11th Precinct. And I was the officer in charge of investigation. I have responsibilities assigned cases to be investigated by.
Okay, and you said the 11th precinct? Where's the 11th precinct located?
5100 East Nevada, East Side. Right.
Okay, and do you know how far the 11th precinct is from the Coliseum?
Approximately
A mile? Okay, and, when did you first, initially start the investigation for the incident that happened in the Coliseum?
So, to the best of my recollection, the case would have been assigned the following day from the day.
Okay, and, what was your role in investigating what happened at the Coliseum?
Well, initially I was assigned the case to the detective. I also took steps with the investigation. One of the steps, my main step, was to do a liquor inspection at the Coliseum.
Okay, and Lieutenant White, I'm sorry, can you just do me a favor and try to speak in the mic? It moves, so, yep, there you go. And just speak up just for the court reporter sake that everybody over here, okay?
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Great.
And so Lieutenant White, do you recall when you did that liquor inspection on the Coliseum?
I do not recall the exact date.
Do you recall if it was after the incident that happened at the Coliseum?
Yes.
Okay, and can you explain to the court, I guess the steps involved in liquor license inspection?
Sure. Any business in the city of Detroit is required to maintain and have a liquor license to do business. The Coliseum not being an exception, during the liquor inspection, we will inspect the liquor license to ensure that they have certifications, as well as the city of Detroit certifications, as well as other business such as the Coliseums, the dance cards, which are required for all employees that work in the capacity of that type of entertainment.
Okay, and this is all involved in this inspection, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and are these inspections, scheduled inspections, or are they random inspections?
Typically random inspection.
Typically random inspections, okay. And, did you participate in the inspection?
Yes, I did actually conduct the inspection.
Okay, so can you tell the court what happened when you got to the Coliseum to do this inspection?
Upon arriving to the Coliseum, I requested to speak with the on-duty manager. Once I spoke with him, I requested the dance cards of the current employees, especially bouncers. Again, this was an inspection, but it was brought about because of the allegations. So typically, as my role as a lieutenant, a business inspection may just be done randomly, or they may be done based off of activity at the location.
Okay, okay, and let me just go back a little bit. Regarding the incident that happened at the Coliseum, did you have that information prior to doing the liquor inspection?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and do you recall who the manager was that you spoke with?
I do not.
You don't, okay. Did you see that person in the courtroom today that you spoke with?
I do not. I do not recall that individual's description.
Okay, that's okay. And when you spoke with, the person you're saying is the manager of the Coliseum, and it's a yes or no question without telling me what they said, did they provide you with these dance cards?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you testified that the bouncers are supposed to have these dance cards as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you recall, let's strike that. What happened after you received the dance cards?
After I received the dance card, I documented the individuals as part of the bounce staff and provided it to the detective that investigate the case, make the detective basis.
Okay, now, out of the bouncers who you collected the dance cards from, do you see any of them in the courtroom?
I don't independently recognize the individuals, but from that incident as well as previous court cases, I do see three people identified, bouncers and
Okay.
I'd object, Your Honor. He just said he doesn't know, and then he's trying to.
She didn't ask me to let the record reflect the identification counsel, but that.
But he said he didn't know.
Exactly, and so she didn't say, let the record reflect the identification.
Well, he did do an identification.
He didn't, there's no
You're right.
identification.
If I may, Your Honor, I agree no identification at the time, but he's talking about seeing them in court. And that's what we're concerned
This is
about.
how identifications in court work. Do you see the people that you identified? Yes or no? When they say yes, then the prosecutor says, point them out, or whoever is doing it. Point them out and tell me what they're wearing. Then they point them out, then they say what they're wearing. Then the person said, let the record, judge, let the record reflect the identification of, and then the court will either say yes or no. Then if I say yes, then there's a need for an objection. Let's continue, Ms. Ritter.
Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm just for the record.
I know, but it's my record. Let's move on. There's no basis at this time for an objection because there has been no request for an identification. Ms. Ritter, continue.
Thank you, Judge. So, what did you do after that, Lieutenant Wright?
I believe that after providing the detectives with the names for the dance cards, I had no other action.
Okay.
You said you had no other?
No other action.
Thank you.
Okay, and, do you recall which detective you provided this information to, or the detective that was in charge of the case?
Yes, Detective Derek Mason.
And do you see that detective in the courtroom?
Yes. Gentleman in the suit jacket in the front row.
Okay. I have no further questions, Judge.
Are we still going in this order right here for cross-examination? Any of cross-examination on behalf of Mr. Spencer?
So your only function was to get the photographs, correct?
Yes,
And who sent you there to get the photographs?
I sent myself.
And because you were assigned the case?
No, Detective Mason was assigned the case. I assigned it to. I was assisting Detective Mason with the investigation.
And when you were assigned the case prior to, and I think you said you don't remember when you went?
I don't know the precise date.
Okay, have you reviewed any records for today?
No, I have not.
Do you have any records for today?
I don't think so.
Did you ever write a report regarding this? Don't look at him, you can look at me. You don't have to look at that fine gentleman there in the suit. Look at me.
He's a lieutenant. He can look where he.
Well, but he's looking for answers, Your Honor.
No, from his detective, he's the lieutenant. He know if he got a report or not. Lieutenant, did you get a report?
No, it was 5 years ago. I don't independently recall drafting.
Okay, so the only thing you independently recall as we sit here today is that you went to the Coliseum and got pictures.
More or less.
Did you take pictures? Did they give you copies and put them on a photocopy machine to give you the pictures? How did that work?
I documented them in a notepad and on my department cell phone.
So you took pictures on your cell phone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You still have that cell phone?
No, I do not.
How many pictures did you take?
I don't recall the exact number.
Well, did you take 5 or did you take 100?
I don't recall the exact number.
If the records are gonna end up showing that there were, on April 20th, there were 71 girls dancing that night, did you take pictures of all 71? Did you ask anybody at the Coliseum who was working that night?
No.
Did you ask anybody who wasn't working that night? Could you describe the person you talked to let you in the front door on your roost to get the documents?
I mean, it's 5 years ago. I don't recall who was working that day. Again, I did a finger inspection. I also wanted to further this investigation.
Well, first of all, you weren't doing, when was the time before April 18th you did a liquor inspection, or April 20th? Have you ever done one there before?
No, I don't recall.
Well, I think you testified before you never did. Would that be accurate? You never did one before April 20th at the Coliseum?
No, I don't recall. Have I done one at this time?
Have you done one after?
No.
have you gone to any other topless bars or gentlemen's clubs to do liquor inspections in the last 5 years?
I don't recall exactly, which ones I would have done.
Did you?
More likely, yes.
Do you have any recollection?
No, I do not.
And the only reason you went to do this liquor inspection was really under a subterfuge to get photographs because of this incident that may or may not have occurred.
No, I wouldn't say that's true.
Why not? Never been there before. Why all of a sudden, 3 days after the incident, do you go?
Well, an accusation of a business that's operating in the city of Detroit, licensed by the city of Detroit, that they were operating a business which was
What?
which were acting in a way that was violent towards the patrons and customers. So I would definitely go to a location where people were accused of committing a violent crime. That could have been a topless bar, that could have been a gas station, that could have been a party store. It could have been a gas car wash. So if there's violent incidents occurring in the location in the city of Detroit at the time, that precinct, I would have looked there to do an inspection.
Okay, your inspection was just to get the photographs.
No, sir, I didn't have a need for photographs. The more important thing was the names.
But you took photographs.
Yes.
You didn't take cabaret licenses themselves, you took photographs.
Yes.
And if you testified previously, it was on April 23rd, would that be correct?
Yes.
That was the only time you were at the Coliseum, correct?
To do a liquor inspection.
There been there's a customer?
Judge, that's irrelevant.
I'll withdraw the question.
Sustained.
I'll withdraw the question. You gave the pictures to Detective Mason?
Yes.
And that's all you had to do with this case? Once somehow you gratuitously went and got the photos to help out your colleague, and that's all you did?
Well, that's all I recall doing at this point, 5 years ago.
5 years is tough to remember things, right? Correct?
It would be tougher 5 years than it would have been 1 year. I would say that would be great.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
On behalf of Mr. Ditman.
Lieutenant, in all fairness, you're trained as a professional to keep records. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that keeping records is an important part of your job. Isn't that fair to say?
Extremely.
Okay, so it's extremely important, but you want us to believe that you went in to a bar. Was it after 5 p.m. that you went into the bar to get the records for investigator Mason?
I don't recall it.
Because you didn't keep a record. Is that right?
Yes. Sure.
Okay, and then you took pictures on your phone, but you didn't preserve the record so we can see what you were doing and what you're preserving. Is that right?
Well, I would say the preservation was done by Detective Mason, and the detective in terms of their lineups. The photographs of any dance cards has only been used to establish a name, date of birth, so that we can enter them into the lien system and provide either a Secretary of State picture or a detainee picture. To my knowledge, none of the dance card photographs were shown as evidence or presented in the lineup.
What I'm asking you, sir, is you took pictures, names first, then you put the names to the pictures at the club. Then you took the pictures and the names. You used your phone and you wrote this information down, but you don't have access to it today or any time since April 23rd?
I don't have access to it today. I wouldn't say that on April 24th, I would have had access to it. I don't have access to it today.
Wouldn't you agree that it would have been important to preserve this information so we can all see it?
Well, I mean, the importance is relative. The names were trained.
Importance is relative only to you, but not to everybody else?
Well, no, again, as I testified today, I preserved the information and provided it to the detectives who conducted the lineups.
I
I get it. So
I didn't.
if
say
you
that.
picked out certain individuals in your pictures and your names, and you put those then as suspects, and you and put it over to Detective Mason, you could have been, I would say, if I use the word, pre-identifying possible suspects, and that's how you framed it to Detective Mason? Is that fair to say? Just asking questions about what he did on that day and how his motive, and when he turned it over to Investigator Mason, Judge.
Well,
I think it's relevant.
it could be relevant, but it's speculative. What was the question that was asked?
About what he thought when he was picking the names and putting them with the pictures and turning them over to Mason. You were identifying potential suspects to your investigators. Is that fair to say?
I think that's a different question. Okay, that's a different question, and I'll allow that question.
Isn't that correct, sir?
Yes.
All right. So basically, you predetermined who the suspects were as opposed to Investigator Mason, correct?
No.
Well, you just identified them and put their names and then turn them over. Isn't that right?
I did not prepare a photographic lineup to show.
I didn't say photograph lineup. I said pictures with names. Is that fair to say?
It would be fair to say that I have a potential suspect pool, and I provided a potential suspect pool to Detective Mason.
Got it. So you went to the club that night to identify and put together a potential suspect. Is that right?
I went to the club to obtain the identities as well as conduct a liquor inspection for businesses that I believe at the time, based off the reports, were operating contrary to law. And typically, when I have a business that's operating that way, I will make a visit. I will send officers to make it. And part of that visit will be a liquor inspection.
Okay.
If I'm there and I can potentially obtain a possibly on a suspect, I want to do that as well.
Okay. Isn't it true that it's not normal? We haven't even did it before for lieutenant to get up out of his office and not send an investigation to handle it himself? Isn't that unusual?
It's not unusual.
Well, you hadn't done any before that.
Well, we didn't say that. I said I've never done one at the Coliseum. I did not say I hadn't done any liquor inspection.
Well-
Typically, that a supervisor will do. I was starting over.
You have an officer in charge, you've got Officer Mason in charge. Isn't it his job to go down and do it instead of you?
Well, ultimately, I'm responsible for the case that's being investigated in the precinct. Whether Detective Mason has time or to do it, whether the sergeant has time or I have time, or another detective. I don't think that each job assignment is ever an issue. We'll work together.
I'm just gonna stick by what you said. Okay, let's just try to find with you go down there, you're looking for suspects. Did you do an investigation when you're there or ask any of other people there about what happened in this case?
No, I didn't conduct any interviews about.
So you're going down with a predisposition to find suspects on a case. I haven't finished my question, Your Honor, she's interrupted.
I'll
I'll keep it.
finish this question and see if it's the same question I was asking.
So you didn't go down there to really do an investigation on this, a real thorough investigation, a fair investigation. You went down just to grab pictures and names and suspects. Isn't that right?
That wouldn't be correct. I don't think, we can say I didn't go to do a thorough investigation.
But you didn't talk to anybody else there. You didn't talk to any of the bouncers or the dancers or the managers. Isn't that right?
Definitely talked to the.
Well, did
I
you
did not
record it?
I did not conduct an interview. Again, my role was to conduct a liquor inspection as well as obtain names, and that's what I did.
What forms do you normally take with a liquor inspection when you go to do a liquor inspection?
We have a liquor inspection form.
What is the liquor inspection with the number and what it has on it? Describe it.
So it's a small card, roughly the size of this, maybe a little smaller. It includes a spot where you indicate the license, the date of expiration on the license, the individual who you would have spoken with, the manager, and the indication whether the business was compliant.
Complying with what?
City of Detroit ordinances as well as their, the liquor ordinances.
So what you went in and you really did is you looked at the mirror of the bar and saw the license on the bar. That's all you really did. And then you grabbed the pictures and the names, and then you looked through them and you put them together, and then you gave them to investigative Mason. Isn't that right?
5 years ago, I definitely would have done a little more. I would have done a little more, doing the inspecting stickers, ensuring that each individuals were licensed, well, that were on duty, and again, making contact with the manager.
The Liquor Commission, the LICCC, did you send anything to the Liquor Commission to document you did an inspection on this business?
I did not personally do. I turned the cards over to our administrative staff, who will typically file and send off to the commission.
Okay, so let me understand this.
Council, I need to understand something. I know Ms. Ritter is not objecting. Why is this relevant? This sounds like the re-litigation of the issue that already went all the way up on appeal, that I think I dismissed the case back 5 years ago. I think that was me or something. I don't know. This sounds all the way familiar. And then the Court of Appeal said, no, we put it back in place about whether he went there under the guise of doing a liquor inspection. And so all I'm asking is, why is it relevant to now the case?
It's relevant, Your Honor, and promoted. In other words, if there wasn't a thorough investigation, if the supposition was that these people were guilty, I just need to find names and pictures, okay? And that's what I'm going there for. When he testifies, I was doing a liquor inspection.
Right, but you already asked him that 5 times, though, Mr. Farina. That's why I'm asking you now, why is it relevant?
He hasn't answered it.
He did. He said he went there and he was doing a liquor inspection and he didn't know what happened to the form. And he took the people's pictures and he gave them to the detective, and sometimes the lieutenants do go out and do these liquor inspections, and sometimes it might be the sergeant and stuff. I mean,
I'll change my question.
okay.
So by that time, though, there was a problem identifying who the people were for investigative Mason you were working, correct? By the time you did the liquor inspection, right?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that answer. I don't know if Detective Mason felt like it was at her time.
Aren't you in charge of investigative Mason? Hadn't there been some lineups already done and nobody was picked out by that time? Is that true?
I'm not aware of that.
You know, it could have been, and investigative Mason needed some more pictures by that time. Is that fair to say?
I would not know.
You don't know the answer? You didn't review the file before you came here today?
I don't know if there was any lineup shown prior to that. I don't call it.
Okay, but there could have been some lineups shown before that. Is that fair to say? No, he's not asked. Answer is your judge.
He said it could have been, but he don't know.
Okay, but so there could have been, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Good morning, Lieutenant. Okay, so the date of the incident is April 20th. And, so did you go do the liquor inspection, whatever it was, did you go do that within a few days of the incident?
I believe we discussed earlier, the 26th.
The 26th of April? Okay, thank you. And then do you remember how many photographs you gave to Detective Mason?
I don't.
You think it was like 10?
But if I had to follow work, no, I would say.
You gave him 5 to 10 photographs?
Possibly.
Okay. And then, but you went out there to get photographs of the people who were working there?
Not to get photographs, names of the employees that were, names of the employees, that were dance cards on file at the location, as well as conduct a liquor inspection.
Okay, but you went to get pictures of, did you go to get pictures of people who had dance cards?
No, I didn't need the photographs.
You didn't need that.
I needed names, but the dance cards are have to be filed with the business. The easiest way to obtain the, to me, at the time, I would have the easiest way. Okay.
Okay, did you have to get pictures of the bouncers? Did you go there for that?
Judge, as the sustain.
Okay, all right, I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No,
I just have one question, because I just want to make sure I understand what you said. I do remember this case, and I do now have to review the record, remember that I was the one who dismissed the case, so that's probably why this all sounds familiar. But you said that you collected the dance cards, and then you said you collected the dance cards of the bouncers. What is it? Maybe I don't know what a dance card is, because dance cards say you dance.
Someone working in that establishment had to have a city control.
Dance card? You telling me those three young men right here, defendants,
Not on my table.
they got dance card? The three people that were sitting, they would have to have it's called a dance card, it's not called a bouncer card.
Yes.
They need to change that. Who's in charge of the name of that? Okay, that's probably outside of your whole realm of it. I just wanted to make sure you did say what I wrote down, and you did. Okay, it shouldn't be no questions based on that question. I just was trying to clarify that that's exactly what he meant. I think you was trying to, Ms. Gibson was trying to ask about that. You went, so the card that you went to look at, that you said you collected, even though you collected those from some bouncers, it's the title of that card is dance card. Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's commonly referred to as dance card. I don't know if that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So
I know,
is it a dance card?
I mean, we don't know, but it don't matter.
Is it a cabaret license?
It might be, he don't know, but y'all don't want him to keep looking at the detector, so he just made up the name that he knows. All right, thank you, Lieutenant, you can step down. You're welcome. Okay, now I need a break. But who's the people's next witness? I wanna be able to go all the way up to noon, but I do need a quick break, 5 minutes, but who's the people's next witness? You need a break too?
Yeah.
Okay, but,
Take them back.
I thought he's gonna take a minute, but at least we can still go up to the, I want y'all to stop clicking that ink pen, whoever that is, find something else to squeeze, get you something else, one of them balls, but that thing is, that clicking. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, kinda, and I mean that, I wanna start back at 11, according to that clock right there, that will be 11:56. 11:56, all right.
I've had experience with that location before. We have 3 days to hold that video.
So the location has 3 days to hold the
They
video.
held the location holds 3 days,
Okay, so that's what, 72 hours?
something like that, yeah.
Okay, so did you go to that location within those 3 days?
No, I did not.
Okay,
I
when,
got there just late, because there's a time frame.
okay, so is it safe to say you went to the location after the 3 days?
Around about close to, yes.
Okay,
After the time frame, 72 hours.
okay, and what happened when you arrived at the location?
Talked to the manager.
Do you recall who the manager was?
No, I don't. He was the manager on staff during the daytime. And asked about the video of the incident.
And did you receive the video?
No, I didn't.
Based on your investigation, why didn't you receive the video?
The video was not, the storage, because of the storage system they have at the Coliseum, it only holds for some amount of time.
So the video was not there.
No, it's not.
Okay, so what did you do after you learned that information?
Then I further my investigation and go back to a conference with them too.
Okay, and, during the conference with Lieutenant White, is this when the, liquor inspection was done?
Correct.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Once I got back the information from the liquor inspection, I went through multiple photos from the description I got from the police report and the statement from Mr. Floyd, try to establish my suspect.
Okay, and when you said establish your suspects, how do you do that?
According to the description I was given, and according to the photos, that I put together photo lineups.
Okay, so as an officer in charge, how do you prepare a photo lineup?
My photo lineup would, so according to the descriptions given to me, I'm going to do, basically, the alignment will be same race, height and weight, if I can. It's just gonna be a thumbprint on the face. Facials, hair, mustache, beard, and, basically conduct the lineup.
Okay, now, the photos that are included in the lineup, where do you get those photos from?
I'll get those from the lean.
Okay.
The investigative search we have.
Okay,
I get it from the Michigan State driver's license. Secretary of State.
okay, and when you prepared this photo lineup, did you already have the, information from Lieutenant White regarding the, liquor license section?
Yes, I used most of those photos. I went through multiple photos that I had, tried to establish the suspects.
Okay, and in the lineup you prepared for Mr. Floyd, did you include the photos, from the cabaret licenses from the
Yes, I did.
Coliseum?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened when you, went through the photo lineup with Mr. Floyd?
I presented several lineups from Mr. Floyd, and, one
I'm
lineup.
sorry, there were several what?
Lineups.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank
Several
you.
lineups. One lineup was an 8-pack lineup. He picked 2 persons out of the lineup, and then after that, he said he didn't see any other persons that were involved in the incident.
Okay, now, let me stop you right there. So the 2 people he picked out of this lineup, you see any of those people in the court today?
Yes,
Can you point to them and tell me what they're wearing?
should be Mr. Spencer, young man on the far end, bald head, goatee, black jacket on.
Judge made the record reflect the identification of defendant number 2, Corey Spencer.
The record reflects that identification.
Thank you. And what did you do after that?
After that, Mr. Floyd, we had another interview with him, and he still wanted to make sure that I included everyone who assaulted him, or he stated assaulted him, I guess.
Okay,
I ran to a point where I didn't have any more photos to give him. I got in contact with one of my special ops officers who does attend the Coliseum, talked to the manager, and the manager got back with, he said he has people coming to the 11th precinct who witnessed the incident.
okay. So at this time, before the people came to the precinct, there were only 2 people identified by
Correct.
Mr. Floyd.
Correct.
Do you recall what date that was?
That would be a lie.
Okay. So, did you conduct the interviews of the witnesses that came down to the precinct?
Yes, I did.
And I'm sorry, for the record, what precinct?
11th precinct,
And where's that located?
5100 East in the back.
Okay. And How many interviews did you do as a person, do you recall?
3.
Okay. You recall the names of the 3 people that you interviewed?
It was Paris Floyd.
You recall who Ms. Floyd was?
She was a dancer.
Okay.
Mr. Keith Didmore came to the precinct.
Okay, when you say, you're referring to the person, Mr. Keith Didmore, you see that person in the courtroom?
It said there was a gentleman in the middle with a gray suit, white male.
Judge made a record plate identification of defendant number 1, Keith Didmore.
Record was so, but as an individual that came down to the precinct to be interviewed.
I'm sorry.
He's identifying Mr. Ditmore as an individual that came down to the precinct to be interviewed.
That's right.
Okay.
So, and who's the other person?
Well, first name was Jeremiah. I won't pronounce the last name correct. Cabana.
Okay. Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
No, he's not.
Okay. Now, were you alone when you conducted these interviews?
Yes, I think I was.
And where were you when you conducted the interviews?
We have a interview room with the 11th precinct deputy judge.
Okay. Doesn't I have a moment? Okay. Doesn't I have my screen? I guess so. Are you opposed? This explanation, looking at the screen in the courtroom, do you know who's on that screen?
That's Mr. Didmore.
Okay, and where is Mr. Didmore in the snapshot of the picture on the screen? Where is he?
He's on the opposite end at this point.
Okay.
Your
and
Honor,
at the-
is this it? Just want to check. I don't think this is admissible per se on consent
I
confirmation.
don't know what it is.
It's a picture of my client. so-
I don't know what it is, Mr. Green, because I'm not looking at it. So I don't know. I know, it's whatever you're asking is premature.
Thank you. And where do you, I'm sorry, can you repeat the second name? So where do you recognize Mr. Didmore in the screenshot of this?
He's in my office.
Okay, and what would this be a screenshot of?
The interview, definitely.
Okay, and did you conduct this interview?
Yes.
And has, from your knowledge, looking at the screen, has this interview or video been changed or altered in any way?
From this one.
Judge, at this time, the people like to admit people propose exhibit 4 is the evidence.
I don't think our foundation has to say. Exhibit 4 in the evidence.
Let me ask you this second question. When was this interview taken?
I'm not sure. You know my statement.
I have one more. This information, if I showed you a document, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. This information, I just handed you a document when you're done. Judge, would you like me to stop sharing my screen at this time?
I'm not looking at it, so I don't care.
Okay. When you're done looking at that document, this information, just put a face on it. So, after reviewing that document, this information, you recall what date it is.
It was May 30th, 2018.
Judge, at this time, people can move to the proposed exhibit 4,
Yes, Your Honor, is there no foundation of what camera was used or if that's the whole picture inside, I object.
There's no foundation as to what camera would you.
Well, I don't know who took the video, Judge. I mean, I don't see any kind of foundation as to who's taking the video. Or when the video, there's no markings on the video itself. I see a document, but I don't see anything on this video.
I think the detective testified as to the date the video was taken, as to him being the person conducting the interview. Also, there's nobody else in the property, proper foundation. And the video hasn't been changed or altered anyway, so I believe proper foundation has been laid.
I think prosecutor's testifying as nothing has been altered or anything like that. That's what
She
I thought.
asked him the question. She asked that question to the witness.
Right, but, all right, well, I don't think there's any indication that it has any date, time, or anything on this document, Judge, or if, and I don't think the foundation has been laid as to the accuracy or authenticity of this document.
That's not the objection I was anticipating. So maybe of course, I'm sure I am missing something. So Mr. Ditmore is a defendant in this case, and somebody's getting ready to show me a statement taken by the detective of Mr. Ditmore. And there's been nothing placed on the record that Mr. Ditmore was not under arrest, that he came there voluntarily, that he was or was not given his Miranda. That's the objection that I was anticipating. And so that's the reason I'm not receiving the video at this time. He testified that 3 people came down to be interviewed, but he did not tell me whether at the time of this particular interview, Mr. Ditmore was a suspect, he was placed under arrest, he was free to leave. None of that is on my record.
May I further
You may.
question, Judge? Thank you. So would you like me to take it down?
You can, because then I don't have to keep turning my neck this way.
Okay.
Okay.
So Detective Mason, when you say 3 witnesses came down to the precinct, did you ask for those people to come down to the precinct?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did these people come in on their own volition?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And before the interview, did you have an opportunity to read Mr. Ditmore any rights?
I didn't know who Mr. Ditmore was at the time he came down. I know he was a witness, a suspect. I didn't know who he was. He came down volunteer.
Okay. And during the interview that was conducted, if you recall, did you handcuff Mr. Ditmore?
No, I did not. He was free to leave.
Was he aware that he was free to leave at the time?
Yes.
And was this a custodial interrogation / interview?
Yes, it was done on a Detroit police body worn camera.
Let me ask that question.
I'm gonna object. She doesn't like the answer she got, because he does admit it's a custodial interview.
That's right.
Therefore, she's now trying to rehabilitate her own witness, not changing him to an adverse witness. He basically said it was a custodial interview, therefore there are requirements for Miranda rights when you're in that situation. That's what he just said.
Oh, thank you. So, was he in custody at the time of the interrogation?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You remember the door being open and closed during the interview?
The door was closed when we were.
Okay, but you did testify that he was free to leave.
Yes, he
And
was.
he knew he was free.
Yes.
And did he leave or suggest that he wanted to leave?
He left after the interview was finished.
I'm sorry?
He left after the interview was finished.
Your Honor, may I? What you're also on this witness.
Before the interview was taken, did Mr. Ditmore sign any advice of rights forms?
No, he did not.
Okay, and why not?
He wasn't established as a suspect or anything. As far as I know, he was just a witness to seeing of the incident that happened at the crime scene.
Thank you. Judge, at this time, people move to admit people's proposed decision before his.
May I have some more questions? Investigator Mason, did you call the suspect, Mr. Didn't want to come down to your station?
No, I did not.
Did you know he was coming down to your station?
I didn't know who was coming down.
Did you designate someone to call him to come down?
No, I did not.
So out of the blue, three people walked into your station, is that your testimony?
I talked to one of my special officers, special operations.
So you authorized someone from the police department to tell him to come down, is that right?
No. My officer went to the Coliseum, talked to the manager. He said he knew the manager or supervisor of security. I said, I'm at a standstill. Is there anybody who knows what happened at the Coliseum on this day?
You went down or?
No, the officer did.
Which officer was that?
Officer John C.J. John C.J.
Okay, so John C.J. went down and told the manager, we need these people to come down to the station and meet with Investigator Mason.
If anybody witnessed the incident.
Is that correct?
If anybody witnessed the incident.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the police department told the manager to tell these people to come down and meet with Investigator Mason.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Now they come down to the station and you said it was a custodial interrogation. Did you tell Mr. When he had a right to an attorney?
No, I did not.
Did you tell him that he had a right not to speak to you?
No, I did not.
So when he comes down, you bring him into the room. There was another detective with you. Isn't that correct?
Someone worked in the office when I was conducting the investigation.
There was someone else next to you in the office. Is that fair to say?
Fair, yeah.
Okay. And your room is not at the front. Your room is all the way in the back of the precinct. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so basically you gotta walk past desks and then sit in a corner. Is that fair to say?
This is outside of school.
No, I'm asking him about the issue about his freedom to leave. And that's what he testified to, and I'm just going through what it looked like, the situation. So basically, he had to walk through some desks, and you're all the way in the back in the corner, which you put him in. Is that fair to say?
I didn't put him in the corner.
Okay, you asked him to sit in the corner, right?
That's who's in the corner.
He's sitting at your desk,
Yes, of course.
but your desk is in the corner, right, in the back? Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So basically, you didn't read him his Miranda rights. He's under custodial interrogation. The police asked him to come down. You got him in the back. You would agree with me that someone might think that I'm not free to leave. Is that fair to say?
He wasn't handcuffed.
I agree he wasn't handcuffed, but you would agree with me that someone might think that they're not free to leave. Isn't that right?
He walked in voluntarily on his own.
Okay. Did you arrest him after the interview?
No, I did not.
And how long was your interview?
I don't recall, had to be on my sheet. Oh, okay.
Look at your sheet.
What am I saying?
Sheets there. Yeah, you can.
I did put on my start time, but my end time was 1:37 p.m.
Is
So
it
maybe 20 minutes at the most.
Is it important to put the start time on
I didn't put it down. Yes, it is.
it? And as an investigator, it's important because then we can know how long that person's been there, other than just saying that. Is that fair to say? Did you keep a record, or you said video? What time did the video start?
Objection or relevance, Judge.
Well, it's relevant. I'm trying to establish the time, how long he was there in a custodial interrogation. And
I don't know, because I don't.
I'll. So, and when he left, did you walk out with him or did another detective walk out?
He just walked out on his own.
You say walking out, he'd never been there before, correct?
Judge, objection or relevance.
It's relevant.
Well, it calls for speculation.
Were you aware he's ever been there before?
No, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, so you likely have to be escorted out of the police station by one of your detectives, right? Find his way out?
There's no speculation, right?
There's a door, you were saying there's a door?
There's a door to the office.
Okay.
You know how he walked in, there's a door right there, you go right in the hall, and the door, and the front door is right there.
So he went through security, went to meet with you at the front desk, walked all the way back by your detectives, and you guys let him out the door, correct?
Correct.
Right. There was no reason to hold him, correct?
No.
Thank you. After he talked to you, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any objection to the admission of this?
Yes, Judge, I am gonna attack you.
Uh,
I can hear you.
I said, is there any objection to the admission of the video?
Yes, Judge.
And what is the objection?
The objection, Your Honor, that how my client was not read his Miranda rights, was under custodial interrogation, was not free to leave, and has not been established that he was free to leave, and was called down by the police. Was not called down independently. A detective went to Sergi, I think, Segway, went down to the Coliseum and told these guys to come down. That's how it got.
Your Honor, I guess I would object, depending on
On
what
what basis, on what standing do you have to object to this statement that would only be as to Mr. Ditmore?
I guess I would ask the court, is this something that we're gonna play in the court if it's?
Probably,
Okay, then I think you just told me I don't have standing, so I'll sit down.
right, you don't have standing. Okay, so, with respect to the statement, the court, makes the following determination. I disagree that it was a custodial interrogation. I disagree that Mr. Ditmore was told to come down by the police. The detective's testimony is that his, officer, I don't remember his title, went down to the Coliseum and talked to the manager and said, if there are any witnesses to this incident, please have them come down and talk to us. They didn't specifically request any particular witness. The court is gonna overrule the objection and allow the statement, with respect to Mr. Ditmore.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, people like to publish people's exhibit for this.
You may, how long is it?
It's 15 minutes, but I'm not gonna play the whole 15 minutes.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, if you're gonna play a minute,
Well, hold on, because it's for Mr. Ditmore. I keep getting confused as to why Mr. Sherbo keeps standing up for Mr. Ditmore. Mr. Ditmore is represented by Mr. Farina. And this statement, the only person who has standing with respect to this particular thing is Mr. Ditmore's lawyer. Your objection.
Your Honor, I'm saying I want the whole video played.
All right,
That's all
then
I
we'll
want.
play the whole video after lunch.
Thank you.
We're gonna come back at 1:30.
thank you, Your Honor.
One thirty, now 1:31.
Well, the state.